Thank you, Kate. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Durban, for coming out. This is really, really great turnout. So I'm not the former VP, or actually current VP, I'm not just lost the election. I am a former engineer, though, and I actually just recently, it was 4 years, left corporate and came into education. And yeah, it's been quite an experience. I think that's the story that Kate is alluding to. But actually what I thought, let me change everything up and let's continue the conversation that Prof. Jansen has started. And I wrote down a few things that I've noted from what the Prof has said. Teach them as if their lives depended on it. And they do, they really do. It's something that we don't think about. It's a big thing, right? For the teachers and principals in the room, it's a massive responsibility, but it is the truth. A child without access to quality education, who leaves the school without the proper skills, they potentially have very limited futures. Somebody told me, actually made this comment, for many of our young children, the first paycheck they get is going to be the social grant that they get when they turn 65. That's pretty scary. So that's, I think, is a really important point. You didn't say it, Prof, but what I heard is that it's all about the children. Every one of us in this room, whether we in education as a principal or a school principal, or a teacher, or if you're an NGO, if you're a business, we mustn't forget that. If you're from government, and we know we did invite members of the DOE, if you're from government, we all hear about education. We all hear about children. That's our primary objective, and we mustn't lose that. The Prof shared a lot about the realities of schools in impoverished communities, low-income communities, communities where you've got unemployment rates above 50%. I often think about my own childhood and my own education. I didn't go to a fancy school. I went to a public school. I actually think some members in the audience are teachers at one of the schools I went to. It wasn't a fancy building. We didn't have fancy school grounds, fancy facilities. We had teachers who were probably like Prof. Jansen, quite strict. We had discipline. We had parents. That's actually a big difference. We had parents who were around, who were involved. I lived in a community where more people had jobs than didn't have jobs. That all makes such a difference on the development of a child, on the ability of a child to learn. But I don't think, this is not a surprise to you, this is not news. If you're working in these communities, you know all about these challenges. So the question is, how do we make a difference? How do we actually enact change? The gentleman over there was asking, what do we do as business? What do we do as South Africans? Now, My School video, and it is a marketing video, and we love My School. They've been great supporters and partners. They said all it takes from you is one swipe. We're asking you for more than that. The fact is that this is our country. Nobody's going to fix it. We have to fix it. And we don't have to do what Prof. Jansen is doing. But we have to do more than just swipe. We have to get involved. So what we do as an organization, at Citizen Leader Lab, we create opportunities for business to get involved. And to get involved in a way that is empowering for the principals and for the schools. And this is quite important because often we come in from the outside and we have all the answers. We have all the solutions. We understand exactly what you should do. You should do this A, B, C, and all your problems will be solved. That is an extremely, extremely uncomfortable position for anyone to be in. when somebody comes into your world and tells you what the answers are without understanding your world at all. So we don't do that. We create opportunities to build understanding. We create opportunities to build relationship. And it always has to be empowerment. The principal at Crestway, for example, is learning from Prof. But at some point, the Prof is not going to be there. The principal needs to continue the lessons and continue the practices. And that's what empowerment is, allowing people a chance to learn, allowing people an opportunity to develop, understanding where people are, understanding that we all in different parts of our journeys as human beings, and helping us get there. Prof spoke a lot about culture versus academics, and I love what you said, Prof. You said academics is easy, culture is hard. There's this famous saying, if you're in corporate, you'll have heard this: culture eats strategy for breakfast. I never understood that. I never understood that saying, because I love strategy. I'm an engineer, right? So I love the technical stuff. I love strategy, coming up with the best plan, how to outcompete your competitors, how to be smarter than the other person. It's fun. But the fact is, if you don't have a team behind you that's executing, that wants to execute, you're just a single person in the big world. If you are a principal and it's just you who's focusing on the children and you just can't get your teachers on board, how can you actually make a difference? You're not in every single classroom, right? It's impossible. So getting people on board, building a culture, that is what leadership is all about, and that's what we need. So a couple things I want to reiterate. Empowerment. When we go into communities, and when I say we, I'm talking about business, I'm talking about NGOs. We want to go in and we want to save the world, change the world. We go in with all our answers. We must not forget, we need to understand the context. We need to understand where people are, and we need to empower. That is critical. And I think, unfortunately, we bemoan the last 30 years since apartheid came to an end, and we say, but we've been putting all this money in. But how have we been directing the money? Have we been putting it into places that is growing capability, that is growing capacity, that is growing this country? Or are we just patching and meeting needs? This community needs a fancy new school. Let's build this lovely school. Let's build this computer lab. But the children are not getting that love that the principal at Prof. Jansen mentioned. They're not getting the good nutrition that we spoke about. Right? Are we looking at the holistic needs? Are we unlocking capacity? So that's the first thing that we as an organization really believe in. Unlock capacity. We've got talent in our country. If we can unlock that talent, this country can go far. That's the first thing. The second thing is this culture and its leadership. And we all complain about leadership. We go to our jobs sometimes and we complain about our boss. We complain about the government. We've got to complain about all of those people in power, right? We're also leaders. Each and every one of us in this room is a leader. And each and every one of us has an ability to influence the environment around us. So that's the second thing that we believe as an organization. It's growing leadership. The third thing, and Prof, you mentioned it very lightly at the end, but it's something that I'm quite attuned to because I'm an engineer, worked in corporate. It's very hard. It's profit and loss. You make money. You deliver value to your shareholders. Nobody talks about love. And what I've learned coming out into education, and I think this applies to corporate as well. I really do. People respond the way we treat them. You treat them with care. You treat them with respect. You treat them with love, just like the children. And yes, the adults are a bit more difficult, yes, but we were all children once. And we all respond to that in the same way. When people trust each other, when people build relationships, and I've seen this. I've seen schools just transform because of the way the principal treats the teachers. I'm not going to give you instructions anymore. I'm going to ask you what you think. I'm going to ask for your ideas. I'm going to unlock your potential. I'm going to take a risk, and this is a hard one for us as leaders. I'm going to take a risk. We're going to try your idea. It might fail, but I'm willing to take that risk because maybe it won't. Maybe that idea is going to transform teaching in our school. All these lessons, I do believe, are equally applicable in corporates, but they are so important in education because the stakes are so high. So what do we do at a Citizen Leader Lab? I've touched on it a little bit, and I want to show you a bit more detail. Actually, let me just touch on this before I go on a bit further onto what we do. So I've been in the sector now for 4 years in education, and everyone I talk to has the answer, the silver bullet, to the education challenge, right? Every one of us. And so these are some of the ideas and some of the solutions that are put up. And these are all valid. And there's a whole bunch more. There's a whole lot more that schools need, right? So none of this is wrong. But what's really important, and I put this up in a specific way, I wanted to show that these are all pieces of a puzzle. All of these things that we need to get to a functioning school that's delivering quality teaching and learning. These are all puzzle pieces. And the really key part for me is that you need to have a puzzle builder. Somebody who's going to put those puzzle pieces together. And that's the school principal. That's the school principal because he or she is on the ground. He or she can see exactly what the challenges are. And he or she has the power and the influence to actually make a difference. So we have to support this person. We have to empower this person and allow them to be successful. We've got about 24,000 schools in our country. We need 24,000 puzzle builders, change agents, who are looking at the different challenges in each of their communities and coming up with solutions to their specific challenges. So, school principal. And I did have a few examples. We work with some amazing school principals, and I know many of them are in the room today, and we're going to hear from a few of them just after I speak. This is a school in the Free State, in Tabong Township in Welkom. As you can see from the pictures, very impoverished community. They have lots of violence, high unemployment, lots of child-headed households, like the prof mentioned. This school last year, they had 100% matric pass. Not just 100% matric pass, they had a 44% bachelor pass, right? So it's not just the pass, but also the quality of the pass. And this is a school, you look at it, and from the outside, you don't expect a lot. You don't expect 100% and almost a 50% bachelor. But what they have right is they have the leadership, they have the culture. This school, another school that we've worked with over the last few years, what I love about this school is the principal was passionate about education and passionate about literacy. So she wanted every single child in her school to be able to read with meaning. And she executed all of these initiatives within the school, but still struggled. She struggled to get it right. And what she and her teachers figured out was that the problem was actually in preschool, before the kids even entered the classroom. So early childhood development, we've spoken about it now. And what she did, she went out to the 7 ECD centers in her community, and she said, let's all come together, let's figure out, with an NGO, with some expert support, how we can better prepare our children for primary school. She didn't have to do that. It's not in her job description. There's no policy on this. This was innovation. And when I talk about empowering people and unlocking potential, this is what I mean. When I talk about, we don't have all the answers for every single school, every single community. This is what I mean. She was able to actually start a culture of literacy in the community. She got unemployed mums to form a reading club for children. All her initiative, supported by the gentleman next to her, who was partnered with her on our program. And they worked together and transformed the community, not just the school. So this is all possible, and what it requires is leadership, and I've put down some of the qualities of a leader. I'm not going to go into detail just because of time, but you'll see a lot of these qualities. It's the soft stuff, the people stuff. The skills and knowledge, absolutely, you need that. But if you don't have the right mindset, if you can't create the right culture, it doesn't matter what skills and knowledge you have. So, Citizen Leader Lab, we've been doing our work for the last 14 years. Our primary focus has been in school principals. As I said, our work, which used to be called Partners for Possibility, is now called Leaders for Education. Our work partners school principals and business leaders, and they go through a leadership development experience where the principal learns skills on how to execute change. How does the principal transform a school? It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Unfortunately, not every school has a Prof. Janssen to come support, but we have business leaders. We have people who are asking questions. Why do you do this way? What if you did it this way? What if you introduced this into your school? Well, just questions, asking, curiosity, probing, and encouraging new thinking. As business leaders, we don't have all the answers to the school problems. We can't. But we understand general management, very important in running a school. We understand execution of projects, also really important if you want to improve a school. So that we've been doing 14 years. We've recently also started working at the next layer of leadership in schools, and that's the school management team. We've been running that program now for 2 years. Also amazing, fantastic results. If you can work with the school principal and then work with the SMT, you're really starting to impact the culture of the school. And then we're looking as a next step, like next year, we hope, we're going to start working at district level. And this is important, right? The districts are the people who appoint the principals, who support the principals. If they are fully functioning, then the school is going to be better functioning. And this is also something that we believe as an organization, that we, NGOs, business, we need to start supporting communities holistically. Doing an intervention here, doing an intervention there, it has an impact. It impacts the people directly involved in that intervention, but you're not creating long-term systemic change. So that's what we want to achieve as an organization, systemic change. And we see it happening. It is possible with those 2 examples that I've just shared, and many, many more. We've actually, through our work, we worked with over 2,000 schools all over the country. And the nature of our work is such that we can work with just about any town, any community. Just the process that we run. So we worked with all of these school principals and all of these business leaders, and the impact is significant, right? Because if you can transform a school, you're impacting probably 1,000 children. You're impacting all the teachers in that school. You're impacting the community. Right? So if you can get a school to transform, you're really making a big step forward. I think that is, that's my story. That's who we are as an organization. That's what we do. We have some really big challenges in our country. Massive challenges in terms of inequality, in terms of poverty. And we actually are improving. I know sometimes it feels like we aren't, but we are. Poverty levels in 1994, official poverty was 80% of our population lived in poverty. It's now 55%. Still way too high. But maybe we should also acknowledge the progress. We're not where we need to be, but we are progressing. And as an example of Prof. Janssen, there's things that we do in our country that actually isn't possible anywhere else in the world. It's pretty remarkable to have all those religions coming together and work together. Won't happen anywhere else easily, and yet we do it. And so 55% poverty, not good enough. We need to keep working on it, and it needs to be a priority. Every single day, we're leaving children behind. But let's do it together. Let's do it in an empowering way. The people in the system, the school principals, the educators, they are ultimately the people who have to drive the change. Let's see how we can support them. If they can be more successful, the country will be more successful. I think that's everything I wanted to share. We've got some beautiful principals who are going to share a bit more about our work. And of course, I'm available after 4 if anyone wants to chat, find out more about what we do. Thank you.